Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from a deleted account who says, would I be a terrible person for divorcing my wife because she changed her mind about having kids? My wife, 30 female, and I, 30 male, have been together for 10 years. We've been married for 6 years. She truly is my best friend and I really love her. So much that my heart hurts even thinking about the topic of divorce, because losing her would be awful, but I really have no clue what to do. I don't want to cry right now, but even thinking about the situation makes my heart hurt. When our relationship started getting serious, we obviously had the important conversations about marriage and if we want to have kids or not. We both agreed that we want 2 kids. We said we would wait until we have traveled the world a bit and then we would start a family. So we agreed that we would probably wait until we were 30 before even thinking about starting a family. By the way, she is the one who initiated this conversation. She was the one who told me she wanted to have 2 kids at some point and I agreed. So it's not like I led the conversation and she felt like she had to agree with me. Our life together has been great. Our life has been so amazing that I'm in shock that I'm even considering divorce. Of course, no marriage is perfect, but I would say we were very happy together. We traveled, laughed, gone on so many adventures. I truly feel like I've made the most out of my 20s, which is great. Obviously, this year my wife and I turned 30, so last week we had a conversation and I brought up the topic of us having kids again. Then again, the past 10 years, we've been on the same page about this topic. To my surprise, when we spoke, my wife mentioned that she actually doesn't want to have children anymore. She has loved being child-free, and she has realized she never wants to give up this freedom. And I understand that, but wow, that shocked me. I physically felt ill when she told me, not because there is anything wrong with being child-free, but I felt ill because I realized me and her had completely different life goals. That was difficult to hear. I told her I respect her decisions and I will never ever force her to have kids, but I needed a moment to just think about if I'm okay being child-free for the rest of my life. So we paused the conversation, and the past week has been awkward. Over this past week I've realized that I truly want to be a father. I know that if I don't have kids I will regret that decision for the rest of my life, and I don't want to live with regrets. Being a father is important to me. Me and her have different life goals and that's okay. But it's made me realize that in order to achieve my life goals, I probably will have to divorce my wife, which feels awful to say. She's my best friend and the love of my life. Leaving her will break me emotionally, but I don't see any other solution. Because clearly me and her don't see eye to eye on a very important topic. Neither of us should be left to live our life with regret. Now I just feel like a terrible person. Leaving her feels so wrong. I said my vows and I clearly can't stick to my vows if I won't be able to stick by her side no matter what. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore. Would I be a terrible person if I divorced her because of this? It's one of those stories where I just look at it and just think about incompatibility and no one really being like, air quotes, the bad guy in this situation, because people are allowed to change their minds about having children and they're also allowed to decide that they can't give up becoming a parent, which makes neither person wrong. And the really brutally sad part is there isn't really a compromise here. If she has kids just to save the marriage, she'll likely resent it. If he gives up fatherhood to save the marriage, he'll likely resent that. So you'll just have 2 very unhappy people. I think divorce is a very valid reason in this situation. But Mr. Redmond Barry says, of course not. Get a divorce. Neither of you are wrong. She's not selfish for changing her mind about kids, and you are not selfish if you divorce her. You 2 are simply no longer compatible. So it goes. Best of luck finding someone who wants what you want. Commenter says this, disagreeing on children is a perfectly valid reason for divorce. Northern says anecdotally, I know 2 people who divorced over this, and they're still really cool with each other. The child-free halves went on to stay child-free, and the ones who wanted kids went on to have kids. There was minimal drama, and they still decently friendly with each other, if now busy with their own lives. Another commenter says, this is really hard and I'm sorry you're going through it. But I think it's a valid reason for divorce. Like you said, she's not wrong for wanting to remain child-free, but if having kids is important to you, you shouldn't have to give that up for anyone. It's a fundamental incompatibility. If it's any consolation, you guys started dating very young, 20, and committed to a life together very young, 24. A lot of changing happens to a person between the ages of 20 and 30. You wouldn't be the bad guy for realizing that while you may still love her, you have simply ended up on different paths. Opie says, my heart is just breaking. I love her so much and I never wanted this to be how our story ended. Yankee Doodle says, I changed my mind when my husband and I married a decade ago. We both said 2 kids. We then decided to wait because we wanted to live in Europe. We've done that, and about 6 years into the marriage I started to waver. We have an amazing life and I didn't want to ruin my marriage or mental health with children. It took my husband about a year longer to come to the same conclusion. We are now 40 and have a beautiful life with a multi-country lifestyle and the closest marriage. Sometimes kids doesn't need to be the end all be all, but if it does for you, yes, divorce her, but you may never find this type of love again. Opie says, I'm so glad things worked out for you guys. Unfortunately, being a father is one of the most important goals in my life, so I highly doubt I will change my mind. A commenter asks, out of curiosity, if she still wanted to have the 2 kids but you found she wasn't physically able to, would you have divorced her? Opie says that's a very different situation, and no, I wouldn't divorce her. Pius says, out of curiosity, do you say that because you assume you'd have kids some other way, adoption, surrogacy, etc., or because it wasn't by her choice? Opie says, because it wasn't by her choice. So, Opie comes in with her update and says, obviously the post I made yesterday got a lot of responses. I haven't been able to read through a lot of them yet, but thank you to everyone who had some great suggestions. Also to the people who kept telling me that I really need to think before deciding to have kids. Well, duh. This isn't a last-minute decision. I've thought about the reality of becoming a parent ever since I got married. I'm not giving up on my dreams because I will regret that. Yes, I know parenthood isn't guaranteed, but I will never forgive myself for not even attempting to be a father. And for everyone asking, no, I wouldn't leave my wife if she was infertile. She's not, because that's a sad situation where the choice was not in our control. That's very different from straight up just not wanting to have children. I thought I might as well update people. I spoke to my wife last night and told her how I feel. That starting a family was really important to me. Obviously, I made sure she knew I would never force her to have kids, but that I do think me and my wife need to have a serious conversation about the future of our marriage. I'm not going to explain the whole discussion. We did speak about divorce. However, she told me she isn't opposed to having kids. She just likes the freedom of traveling and being free. But she did ask me to give her a year. Me and her will spend this full year absolutely living life to the fullest and going on all these adventures. Basically cramming in 5 years worth of adventures into 1 year. And then once this year is over, she can reassess if she feels ready. If not, she said she will let me go and she won't keep holding me back from my goals any longer. But she said that she needs a year to really think about this, to see if she does want to be a mother. Obviously, I did tell her that I really do not want her changing her mind because of me. Yes, she's my wife and she loves me, but I do not want her to change her mind because she's scared to lose me. My wife says that she's not closed-minded to the idea. Yeah, she currently is 100% sure she's happy being child-free, but giving herself a year to get all the traveling out of her system and also spending a year thinking about the idea might change her mind. But she did say that she will never force herself either. If by the end of the year she still doesn't want kids, then she will tell me. But for now, me and her have a year of traveling and adventures. I'm happy with this idea. Please remember this is her idea and I don't want to force her to change her mind. However, waiting a year is so worth it if there is even a slight chance I don't have to divorce the love of my life. Edit. I'm not going to reply to the people telling me my wife is manipulating me. Nobody in the comments knows my wife. I'm sharing an update because some people had great advice, but nobody knows my wife's personality, nor do they know my relationship dynamic. I'm 30. I can wait an extra year. This year of waiting is so worth it if my wife has even the slightest chance of changing her mind. The conversation we had last night was genuine and I trust her. She trusts me. A commenter on the back of this says she gave herself 1 year too to change your mind. Paranoid says, I agree, but we also have to acknowledge that we don't know her and should give her the benefit of the doubt. Opie should make sure that's not what she's doing, but also not assume that's the idea, but stand firm on the 1 year thing and plan in case you end up divorcing. Poor Kid says, I didn't see the original post, but it sounds like this is a reasonable compromise. I'd be fully prepared for your wife to not change her mind, but enjoy the year and hope for the best. She likely will still not want to have a baby. A year of travel would be amazing, but it will not make you want a baby at the end. It will leave you planning for more adventures. Maybe that's just me. Opie responded saying, I'm aware she might not change her mind, but even if there is only a 0.01% chance she changes her mind, I'm willing to wait the whole year because I love her too much and would hate myself forever if I never gave this next year a chance. Commenter replies saying, agreed. Well, random internet stranger, I wish you the best results, truly. Being a parent is a ton of work, but rewarding if you have the love and patience it takes. I hope your year is wonderful and you both find happiness at the end of it. Commenter says, I read your original post and she already asked for 10 years from you before considering children. This 1 year is a stalling tactic. She's hoping you change your mind. For your information, the longer you leave it to have kids, the much harder it will be for you as a parent. And there is a much higher risk to your future wife/partner and baby too. Opie says, me and her mutually agreed to wait 10 years. That was a choice we made together. She knows full well I will not change my mind. Commenter replies saying, and now she's convinced you to mutually agree for another year. Rip off the band-aid, dude. She's not changing her mind. One more commenter says to OP, well done sitting down and having a discussion. Did you agree to the year or did you ask for a different time? My wife and I agreed we wanted kids before marriage, but I was never ready. I loved the freedom and still felt like I was figuring out life. Finally, I agreed, but I simultaneously felt ready and like I'd never be ready. When our firstborn came, wow, I never felt such love before. Something so small and needing us, and such a huge responsibility. Raising kids has been so hard, the hardest thing I've ever done. So many tears, and it's time consuming and exhausting and expensive, but it's also so rewarding. So much joy, worth the struggle. We used to travel a lot before kids, and we still do. We bring them along on adventures with us. Hope you two can find a path that you both agree on. Opie says, I agreed to the year. If she suggested any longer, I would have said no. I'm 30. I have time to start a family, so I'm not worried about spending another year with someone who might not change her mind. But that small chance she might change her mind is worth the wait to me. If nothing changes, at least I got another year of adventures with my best friend. And there was many other commenters on the end of this one just thinking this isn't going to end well. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account from the relationship advice subreddit and says, my girlfriend, 24 female, resents me, 23 male, due to the fact that we split expenses 50-50. But she has a lot more expenses than I do, and my family pays for unexpected expenses and vacations. How do you work through resentment? My girlfriend and I went to college together and started dating 3 years ago. My girlfriend graduated 2 years ago, could not find a job for a degree, and decided to stay around in the city where our college is and continue to wait tables. I graduated last year. We moved in together starting last September. We make roughly the same amount of money and split shared expenses, rent, utilities, groceries 50-50. My girlfriend has a number of expenses I do not have. Car payment, car insurance, health insurance, cell phone, $80,000 in student loans, etc. I do not have those expenses. My parents paid completely for my college, and those other expenses are paid by my parents. Also, I have a credit card on my parents' account to use in case of emergencies. My girlfriend's birthday was in May, and I threw her a surprise birthday party, and a number of our friends came into town for it. Apparently, during the party, she expressed her frustration to some of our mutual friends about our relationship. Afterwards, I received some messages from some of these friends saying I needed to talk to my girlfriend. They did not go into details about what she said. I asked her about it at the time. She admitted she had frustrations, but it was on her to deal with them. I told her I would like to discuss, so we did. She said she is constantly worried about money, and I am not. She said it is hard not to notice the contrast between our lives, despite being basically at the same point in life and having the same income. She feels like she did the responsible thing and got a STEM degree. Her degree is in biology, but got no offers from it. While I went and got a degree, English, that was simply the easiest to get. That is why I chose that degree program, but I have a job I love. I work for myself as a private music teacher, and she hates her job. I asked her if there was anything I could do to make it better. She told me no, but that she is just frustrated is all. I tried to inquire more, but she resisted going into more details. I have an older brother, 25 male, who I am very close to. He recently got engaged, and a set of mutual friends and my brother decided they wanted to do a trip to Hawaii to celebrate. I told him I probably could not go because of the cost, but for them to have fun. He told my parents, who then told me to put the trip on the credit card. We're leaving in a week. This pissed off my girlfriend in a heated moment. She said, "This is why I resent you." She's tried to walk that back, but it felt like that comment is an expression of her true feelings. How do you work through resentment? I love my girlfriend very much, but do not know how or what to do from this point, and we have to decide in the coming weeks if we're renewing on the lease for another year. A commenter said to OP, so she's emotionally frustrated at the situation, but also intellectually recognizes that you aren't actually doing anything to cause that situation. That sounds like a pretty reasonable take. I'd be frustrated too. You have relatively few options to fix this, but it's not zero. You said she has a car payment plus insurance and you don't. Do you share her car or borrow one from your parents or just use public transport? If you're regularly sharing a car, it would be reasonable to share that cost as well. Do the two of you have any reasonable prospects for career advancement? I know you can't always answer that question in a few minutes, but take some time to consider it. The salaries you are making are good enough to get by as a couple of broke new grads, but not enough to raise a family. How would you get from here to there? If you have a roadmap for this, even if it takes several years to pull off, that may give her a better sense of stability. Commenter says he has his own car that his parents bought when he was 16. It's still in his parents' names and they have it covered on their insurance. And he said he takes public transit a lot and suggested his girlfriend drive it instead of she buy a used car. She went and bought a new car with $678 a month payments 2 years ago for a graduation present. She totally disregarded his suggestions and put herself in more debt. Ooh. Commenter says, yeah, you guys are adulting very differently. You have a cushion to fall on and she has to manage every dime. There's a huge disparity between someone who doesn't have to worry about money and someone who has no choice but to worry about money. No one is wrong, you all just aren't financially compatible at this juncture. Iron Fist says, this isn't a real thing. This isn't a real thing. It's that the much richer boyfriend is expecting his much poorer girlfriend to shoulder 50-50. Just scale to income, it's easy to do. Commenter says financial compatibility is absolutely a thing. If one member only wants to go travel and party and spend all their money, and one party refuses to spend an unnecessary dollar that could go to retirement, they're financially incompatible. And one more commenter who says, so she's broke all the time and you have plenty of money because your parents pay major bills for you. Yeah, I can see how that would make someone resentful. Now, I can understand why there might be some sort of envy and maybe some slight resentment at the same time. If you're working as hard, earning the same amount of money, yet you're the one who's constantly stressing about everything. I get why you'd feel some envy about that. And some of the commenters may not have picked up about it. But for me, like that commenter who mentioned about the car, and not all of her financial situation seems to be outside of her control. She already had $80,000 in student loans and apparently bought herself a brand new car with $678 monthly payments. Despite OP's suggestion she buy something cheaper or use his parents' car instead. She had the option to jump on that, and it changed things up for me quite dramatically. I don't think OP was ever at fault because it's not his fault that he's being supported, right? And it's not like OP is being dismissive in this. He asked what he could do to help and she admitted he really wasn't causing the problem. The whole finance in the car, it certainly had me side-eyeing things, I have to admit. I don't know if I'm going to be wrong there or not, but it certainly made me feel a certain way. But OP came back in to update the post and says, as mentioned in my comments, my girlfriend graduated from our college 2 years ago and I graduated last year. Right after she graduated, she purchased a brand new car. The car payment is exactly $678 a month. During her first year post-graduation, my girlfriend lived with a couple of roommates. One of the roommates moved out about 3.5 months into the lease. While finishing my last year of school, I helped pay that roommate's portion of the bills. At the encouragement of one of the commenters, I went through and ran the numbers on expenses for my girlfriend and I. All of them. What it made me realize that if my girlfriend had not purchased that car, that I would have never had to provide financial support during my last year of college. Also, in our present situation, if she did not have that car payment, she would have more money than me at the end of the month. I'm leaving tomorrow for a trip with my brother. A couple of days ago, I sat down with my girlfriend and told her that I wanted to discuss finances. I told her that I think in terms of her struggling financially, the most logical thing is for her to get rid of her car. As I did when we moved in together last year, I offered her the option of us sharing my car. I use public transportation often and can go days without needing to use my car. Also, since I have my own business, I have greater control over my schedule and we can figure out a schedule. She refused that plan. We've had a number of fights about the car and she thinks I'm being an arsehole. Buying that car for herself on her own was a great accomplishment for her. I told her it just is not affordable for where we are. I told her that unless she is willing to offer some compromise, I think we need to break up. She told me that I screwed both her and I by not marrying her after I graduated. She told me that after my older sister and my brother-in-law got married immediately after college, while they were both going through grad school, my parents paid for all their living expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, etc. And she thinks that same thing would have happened if we were married, or at least engaged. But now, with a breakup, she's just screwed. She cannot afford her own place and most of our friends are in relationships, just or about to get married, etc. And she will have nowhere to go. And she still loves me despite her frustration with me. I told her I think we're just incompatible financially and need to end things. She cried and I left to her friends and have been staying there since until my trip. This morning she called and said she'd be willing to sell and get rid of the car. She really has no choice but to do it anyway. I told her I still think we need to end things. A commenter says to OP, buying a brand new car the moment you graduate is one of the most financially crippling things you can do to yourself. Unless your starting salary is $100K, it's going to kill your financial development. It's a dumb decision to make. The car payment is $678 a month, for insurance and gas on top of that, probably pushing close to $900 a month on your car alone. It's going to cripple your finances for the next 7 years, however long the loan is. That's pretty much all the disposable money you earned dumped into a long-term expense you don't need right now. Not to mention car loans constantly take advantage of young adults like that. Probably got a horrible deal on the loan too. To all you young adults reading this, just starting out in life and got your first taste of adult money, save the new car for down the road. Buy a new car when you're flowing in the cash. Don't make your entire cash flow go towards a car. Just drive a Beta for a while. It will drastically change your outcome. She's mad because you want bills to be split 50-50. Claiming a luxury, unaffordable purchase should mean you carry more of the weight since you don't have the same expenses. True. You don't have the same expenses because you never made boneheaded decisions that put you behind the 8 ball like she did. And the audacity. This girl keeps getting better. She has the nerve to say you screwed her over because you didn't marry her the moment out of college. Because wait for it, your sibling married a woman and your parents financially helped that woman. Something she was banking on. What a cherry on top. She was banking on your parents giving her handouts and you screwed her over because she no longer has the chance to use your mum and dad to her advantage. Thank the Lord you dumped this person. Vegetable Cod says, I was sympathetic to her plight until the car. That was a bad decision to make when she hadn't got a full-time job. Also, I'm not at all okay with the way she wanted marriage, just so your parents would cover her bills. Frankly, OP, I would start to wonder if she ever loved me, or stayed because she saw the potential for money from your family to cover her lifestyle. One more commenter from Grim who says, I mean, if she didn't want to split expenses, then she needs to take a trip back in time to the 80s when you could survive on one wage. Her choice to purchase a car, despite already having one you could both use, was not a smart decision, whether it's an accomplishment or not. It's clearly costing more than it's worth. Bloody hell, I mean, the first red flag was the car, which obviously lots of people mentioned, but my jaw was just dropping more and more when I was reading about he screwed her by not marrying her sooner because she expected his parents to pay their living expenses like they did for his sister. You know, that's a wild thing to admit out loud, isn't it? Instead of saying something, I wish we'd married because I love you, her reasoning was, we missed out on your parents subsidizing my life. Bloody hell. And to me, when she turned around at the end and said she was willing to sell the car, it's because she knew what she was losing. That's the way it felt to me anyway. I don't think she suddenly saw the light on the whole debt thing. And I think OP made absolutely the right decision in the end. I can't get over it. Like, the audacity to say that out loud to your partner. Wild ass shit. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time, it always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly is absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.